All right, so this is the place where we have stopped last week. So we start feature of databases and we went up to two particular points, which is like minimal data redundancy, as well as the data consistency, right? We went up to those 2 points. So we have to continue from that point onwards. So since we have discussed about these things, let's quickly write down the notes. Then we can go to the further topics, right? So you may continue from this particular point, increase efficiency. So copy this down regarding increase efficiency, and regarding increase accuracy, you have to copy this down, right? So quickly take it down, people. All right, one is done. How about others? Okay, Gavindo, do it quickly. Are we done, people? Anyone who is still writing? Right, so moving forward, regarding increased validity, write this. All right, are we done, people? Lamai, are we done? Right. So moving forward, regarding the security, you may copy this. Okay, are we done? Is there anyone still writing this? Okay, quickly, people. Okay, right. So we are moving down. Right. So the next one is about the electronic and manual database, the comparison, right? So this comparison is done for the manual and the electronic database. So it's easy for you to remember when you know about one particular database. So like what is less in some particular database, we can find it in more in the other database, right? So when it comes to the manual database, it's comparatively low in benefits. When it comes to the electronic database, it is high in benefits, right? So what are these benefits? What are the differences? So when it comes to the manual database, it's less efficient, less accurate, less credible, right? විශ්වාසවන්ත භාවය අඩුයි කියලා අපි කියනවා, right? Then it's difficult to analyze data. Should present in order of the input. That means if you are writing in, when it comes to the manual database, we use pen and papers. So that means if you write some particular data in order, so you have to refer on that particular order. You can't change the order. or in other words, you can't arrange that order in another particular manner, right? Difficult to delete, difficult to update, right? And more space is needed, like we discussed about these things last week, right? So compare it to a book. If the same capacity, if the same physical size of hard disk can contain many big databases inside it, right? And more manpower is needed. So when it comes to the electronic database, there are very big benefits. So like over the manual database, it has huge benefits, like more efficiency, more accuracy, more credible, right? Easy to analyze data. It's like if you think about a contact list of a mobile phone, you can search it quickly, you can change it quickly, you can delete a particular record quickly, right? Unlike a manual database, right? And it's a very small space that you need to store those data, right? Sometimes we can store it in a small memory chip. Compare it to a book, it's very small, and less manpower is needed. So what I want you to do is just have the heading electronic and manual database, and please leave enough room in your book to complete this table at home, right? So I think it's how many? 10, 12 rules may be sufficient. So have the heading and leave 12 to 13 rules. So you can finish that at home. Electronic and manual database is the heading. And leave 12 rules. So with that, we are going to move to the new term called relational database. Now, so far we have talked about databases, right? So now we know what is a database. Database is a place where a data can be stored in the form of tables, right? And there are ups and downs of the manual and the electronic database, but we know what is a database. Now, why this relational part has added to this? Right now, when it comes to the computer related or like the databases that we are using today, in most of those are compared to be or are considered to be a relational database. Now, what is the difference between a normal database and a relational database? Normal database can have tables, they can contain data, but they don't have actual relation in between those. Now, in relational database, the only difference is the tables are related to each other. So like looking into one table, finding a particular answer that you want can be found with the reference of that table to another, right? So like as an example, now these two tables contains the personal details of the student, the top table, and the books which are being borrowed, the details of the books which have been borrowed at the second table. So in case if you want to find what Firoza Rafiq has borrowed, so with his student number, we can refer this particular book, and this particular book has borrowed by the Firoza Rafiq, because Firoza Rafiq has the student number 101. So 101 has borrowed 2222 book, and 101 has borrowed 1111 book. Right? So it's related. That is why this is called relational database. Right? And you can find many important data with these references. Right? And When it comes to the relational database, there is a specific jargon that we are going to talk. Like jargon means the language that they are using, right? So like, like we all talk Sinhala, and there are different versions of Sinhala in many different places in our country. So those are called the jargons, right? So the same way, here in the database, we are going to talk about a table which contains the data, but the components of the tables will refer in the database jargon. So normally we know a particular table is having columns and rows, right? But here, when it comes to the database, a row is referred as a record and a column is referred as a field. So according to the database jargon, we say a collection of fields. A collection of fields form a record. A collection of record forms a table. A collection of table forms database or a relational database. Now, here in this example, this student number, name, date of birth, date of admissions, those are considered to be fields of that table. So the column names. Right here, student name, book number, borrowed date, return date, those are considered to be field. Right? So we specifically say these things are field names. So this one particular column is considered as a field. Right? And this one particular row which contains the data is considered as a record. Right? So these records, so how the data inside a record are being created, it is a collection of fields. That's why I told you it's a collection of fields create a record, and collection of records. Once you take all these records together, it is the one which completes the table, right? So that is the nature of the database, how these fields and the records are helping to create a database. All right, now in here, they have given some examples to show you some particular applications that they have considered regarding collecting the data of the students. Now, this is not a proper database, people. It's just an application here. It got 3 applications or 3 biodata forms. And using those, they have created a particular table. So it has a field called admission number, a field called name, and a field called date of birth, and a field called gender, and a field called student phone number. So each and every row consists of the details of each and every student. Right? In this case, these 3 students. So, like I said, this diagram illustrates how, like, what is going to happen or what has happened to the traditional columns and rows in a table. So a traditional column now considered as a field, a traditional row now considered as a record. So name of the column, or like the column header, is considered as a field name. This happens only in the database, people, right? So these terms are used only when we are referring to the databases. All right, so before we move to the primary key, let's write about the relational database, right? So, yeah, so the main heading and these 3 lines need to be copied. Start copying, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? Yes, anyone who is still writing? Okay, moving forward. And I need you to draw these people, how these things are being formed. So please draw it as quickly as possible. Okay, one is done. How about others? All right, keep doing. All right, are we done? Okay. Right. So moving forward, right. So in here, yeah, I want you to draw this as well, people. This helps to understand how the column is referred as a field and how a row is referred as record, right? So complete it.
වැරදිලා
People, I was out for 2 minutes. If you got any questions, if you asked any questions during, please let me know. Okay, are we done? Okay, keep doing. All right, people. Is there anyone still drawing this? Okay, so moving forward. Right, now we are coming to the term called primary key. Now, think about this situation. Now, if I want to recognize, or if you want to recognize yourself in the school uniquely, what is the component that someone can use to recognize you uniquely, recognize yourself uniquely? How the people are going to recognize you uniquely in the school? Yes, any suggestions? Binadi, if you are recognized by the name, then you should be the only Binadi at school. Sometimes you may be, but sometimes there can be another Binadi, maybe not in your grade, maybe in the upper grades, or maybe in the lower grades. Yes, Kavidu, yes, Tadara. So admission number is a good point, right? Ranima, yes, appearance is another good point because we got different appearances. Now, when it comes to the database formats or into the database sector, appearance, we won't be able to match it into a database. If we think about the data, which can recognize us uniquely, admission number will be a very good data because admission number is not going to be repeated or duplicated with anyone else. It is unique. And if someone got admission number, let's say 10022, so 10022 will be only denoted to a one specific student. No one else is going to have that admission number, right? Now, when it comes to the primary key of a table is doing the same task or performing the similar task. Primary key is there to identify a particular record uniquely, right? If you take an example here in this table, in the first table, student number, name, date of birth, date of admission, name of the guardian, kind, like in that table. Like if you take name, there can be more Manoj Dayaratna. It is possible to have another Manoj Dayaratna, right? And it's possible to have this particular date of birth to someone else. And in here, you can see the date of admission is already repeated over here. And if there are students from the same family, definitely the name of the guardian are going to be a same one. So there are many different fields which can have duplicate values. So those fields are not qualified to be a primary key. If a particular field needs to be qualified as a primary key, it should have unique values. That means the values under that column should not repeat, must not repeat, as well as it shouldn't be an empty one. Like that means like if it can be an empty one, there can be a student without an index number. But there is no such scenario in your school, right? Every student got admission number, and those admission numbers are different from each other, right? So that what defines the primary key. So primary key is the one which enables to identify a record uniquely in a table, right? So if you think about the unique data that a particular person can have, we can take these examples. National ID card number, school admission number. What else we have as the unique data, people? Yes. Apart from admission, NIC, anything that you can remember? Yeah, Gavindu, yes, DNA is a good thing, but excuse me, but we won't be able to take it into a database, not a simple one. Like what kind of data that we can have? Fingerprint? Yeah, Rosetta, that's a good one. Fingerprint. Email address? It's different from each other, neither. You can't have my email address, right? Each and every one of us is having different kinds of email addresses, right? So those can be, those fields is eligible to become a primary key, right? So yes, Rusira, as mobile number, a very good example, right? Ranuka, password, it is the fact regarding the password, like my password can be your password as well. The only thing is we don't know, because I'm not revealing my password and you're not revealing your password, right? So passwords can be duplicated, but the only thing is, since it is a sensitive data, no one will know we got the same password, right? Okay, so as the special attributes of a primary key, they have said should not be empty, as I told you, and no duplicate values, right? And in a table, you will find, like sometimes you will find more than one particular column has this uniqueness. Like if in a particular table, if you got the index number, NIC, email, all three columns are qualified to become a primary key. So it's the responsibility of database creator or the designer to choose what will be a suitable one out of those three, right? He's not going to choose all three things as the primary key. Primary key is going to be one particular chosen one, right? There can be a combination of columns to a primary key, which we call the composite primary key. As the next topic, we are going to talk about it. But for the moment, I'm talking about one particular field which has unique values, is eligible to become a primary key. And sometimes in some tables, we won't be able to find a one particular field which contains unique values. If you look into this example, in this example, it has 4 columns: year, sport, captain, vice captain. Under the year, if you look into the details or the data, it's repeating. 2013 is repeating, as well as 2014 is repeating. Under the sport column, cricket, football, volleyball, again cricket, football, volleyball is there, so it's repeating. And under the captain, like here, this Jaliya Saranga is repeating over here as well. Under the vice captain, this Sudesh Taranga is repeating over here as well. So no particular column contains unique values, right? So in such cases, we are trying to form a primary key by using more than one particular column. So we may combine 2 columns, or maybe 3 columns, or maybe 4 columns. It is according to our requirement. So here in this example, what they have done is they have taken the year column as well as the sport column together and formed a primary key. So once these 2 columns are together to form a primary key, 2014 cricket, that entry is unique in anywhere, right? There is no any place which contains 2014 and cricket together, thus giving us a uniqueness. So when we combine 2 or more columns to create a primary key, we call it a composite primary key, right? So the composite primary key contains more than one field inside it. Okay, people, is that clear regarding the primary key as well as the composite primary key? Yes, everyone? Yeah, Gavindu, like in simple terms, primary key means a field which can recognize a record uniquely. And how we are going to choose a primary key? We choose a particular field which has unique values, like your index number or the admission number. Right? Unique values තියෙන column එකක් තමයි අපි තෝරගන්නේ. එක column එකක් නැත්නම් we are going to choose 2. ඒතර columns දෙකක් අරගෙනත් unique ඒවා හොයන්න බැරි නම් we are going to choose 3. Right? Somehow it will identify a record uniquely. Then මේ මෙතන accession number 21 31 කියන එකෙන් මේ total record එක recognize කරනවා. Because there is no any place which has 21 31 again. Got it, Gavidu? Right. Okay. Right. So let's write about the primary key. Have the heading primary key, and please, yeah, you have to copy the definition plus the examples, as well as, I'm sorry, hold on. This one and the examples and these special attributes. Yeah, copy down below. Are we done, people? Okay, one is done. How about others? People, is there anyone still writing? Okay, so we are moving forward. Yeah, I want you to draw this table, and when we are like having a table, or when we are creating the table, we normally underline the primary key. That is why accession number is underlined over here. So under your note, please draw this and underline this. Right, then after you can go for the composite primary key and the explanation of it. Okay, one is done. How about others? Can we move forward? Anyone who is still writing? All right, moving forward. So you have to copy this table plus this particular line. Okay, Dilni, sorry, my bad. The people will wait for a moment. Someone's are still writing. Okay, Dilmi, let me know when you're done. All right, so we can move to here. So you can draw this and be careful and to underline the words year and sport both together and write the composite primary key of this table equals year plus sport. All right, one is done. Is there anyone still writing? Who is still writing this? Okay. So the next concept is about the foreign key. Now let's talk about this concept and we can end the session. And the concept of the foreign key is very easy to understand, people. Like, to talk about the foreign key, we need to know about the primary key first. That's why we were talking about the primary key first. So foreign key is defined like this. As it says, if a field of one table can be used to uniquely identify rows of another table, this or these fields are called the foreign key. Now you can understand it by the example that they have given here. So look at this. Here, they are considering two particular tables. Registration number, name, date of birth, date of admission, name of the guardian is there in the student table. And when it comes to the subject table, it has candidate number, maths, science, Sinhala, English, and the registration number. Now concentrate on the registration number. Here in the student table, registration number is underlined. That means it is the primary key of the student table. The same registration number is placed inside the subject table as a normal field. It's the very same field. But in the subject table, primary key is the candidate number and registration number is taken as a normal field. Now that occasion where we use the registration number as a normal field is considered to be a foreign key. So how a foreign key is made? A primary key of one table, when it is placed as a normal field of another table, is called the foreign key. Right? So that means if you are referring something or some field as a foreign key, that foreign key must be a primary key of another table. Not the same table, but of another table. Is that clear, everyone? All right. Okay. Right. So with that, I'm going to end the session, people. We'll write about the foreign key by next week. Next week is a holiday, people, right? So have a Merry Christmas for the people who are having the Christmas, and Happy New Year for everyone, right? I'll meet you on not the 31st, but the 7th of January from the physical class, right? So it's from 6 to 8 on Fridays, right, in the Nanapathy Institute. So I'll drop a message as well, right? So you people come and meet me on there, right? So have a nice night, right? And have a nice weekend, people, and be safe, right? And I'll see you on next week, not the next week, like week after, on 2022. Yeah, then let's continue our physical classes from there. So physical class time is from 6 to 8, Ranuka, right? 6 p.m. to 8 p.m, right? It's a 2-hour one. So thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you on week after, right? In the physical class, right? Okay. Good night, everyone.